Hey, how's everybody doing? Coach Scott here. In today's video, I'm going to share 10 points with you that's going to allow you to create a training camp. You're going to be able to prepare, test, and review it. So much in one video, okay? Now, why a training camp based around Zone 2? The reason being, you are overreaching. What's overreaching, coach? It's doing too much in a short period of time that stops you from progressing over a longer period of time. Any of you ever done a short-term training camp? Maybe you've done a festive thing over Christmas, beginning with the word Fa challenge. You condense 500 kilometers into that 7-day period, and what happens is you lose motivation a week or 2 weeks after, and even a month after. Your touch points with training are crap. I'm going to fix that in the next few minutes, okay? Now, where this plan goes, it goes into school. This model will be performed by yours truly and a number of other riders. You can join for free in my school platform, link in the description, whereby no matter if you train for 2 or 3 hours a week, you can actually do this. But it will create a culture of performance. A culture of performance. That sounds like some 1980s pop band, coach. What this is a behavioural response to everything you do, not just your training. Okay? You ready? About time we get into it, coach. Okay, point number 1. Why are we calling it a training camp? The word camp is about language. The term camp, it's not plan, it's not template. Camp raises accountability. I want you to think about your day. How many times in the day do you use direct language? Yes, no. Or how many times do you go, well, maybe, possibly, I will try to. Bollocks, the bollocks, the bollocks. Okay, that is not how we talk when we're trying to create a performance culture. I don't care if you train for 2 or 3 hours a week only. You need to think, okay, at a high level. We're trying to create a winning mentality. So, use the term camp. You've erased the accountability already. Join the school group. Join the virtual camp. This means that you've got a supportive network because you want to do this. Number 2, you're going to create a goal that is task-based. Task-based. What does that mean? Volume. Volume is much easier in terms of time achieved rather than creating a power or a speed or a distance. They are more dialed into metrics of fitness which have variables, and sometimes those variables will impact on you, meaning you don't actually achieve the goal that you've set. That's going to lead to a spiral of confidence which usually ends up in you shutting the door, going back to bed and saying, fuck it, I'm not carrying on, okay? We don't want that. So a task-orientated goal works. And we're going to talk about volume. And again, I don't care if you're training 2 hours or 4 hours or 6 hours, 10 hours. I'm going to give you a model to follow. Okay? Number 3, you're going to base your camp around the weekly average you've had for the last 4 weeks. Do not pick a number out thinking that's what I want to aspire to. I want to train for 10 hours. If you've only been doing 4 to 6 hours over the last 4 weeks, that's what you start with. You start with what is achievable and then we work through. The desire to go further will overreach you. We'll get there in time, okay? Number 4 is really important. You're going to create the camp around a plan that has 1 ride only per week that goes over 2 hours, maybe over 3 hours or 4 hours. 1 longer ride. That doesn't make sense, coach. I've got a little bit more time. What I mean is, if we have the 1 ride and then we can build in a couple of strategies. 1 is the 2-to-1 rule. So when you do your long ride, the very next day you try and achieve 50% of that long ride. This will allow you to control the intensity in the long ride, knowing that you've got a backup. And that backup ride allows you to ride with a level of fatigue that will help you build your fitness. Now, the next rule within that is that you do no more than 3 days in a row without a rest. And also you start on a high to low model. So day 1 is always a longer time than day 2 and day 3. But day 2 and day 3, if you do 3 days, can be the same. So here's an example of an 8-hour week. Monday, rest. Tuesday, 90 minutes. Wednesday, 60 minutes. Thursday, 60 minutes. Friday, rest. Saturday, 3 hours. Sunday, half of that, 90 minutes. That is 8 hours. When I say it like that, it doesn't seem that much, but you're struggling to find 4 or 5 hours. That's because you're generally overreaching, doing too many hard sessions, because you're missing sessions due to not having a high culture of performance. It works. Number 5, plan your routes so that you can execute them knowing the time it takes. You can use apps like Strava. It will work out the time taken for that route based on your average speed for a whole bunch of rides that you've been doing. But you should know when you can go out. You've got a 60 minute, a 90 minute, a 2 hour, that's a 3 hour ride, that's etc, so that you plan ahead. That's important. Okay, number 6. This is key because you're going to test. You're going to test before you start the camp. And here's how you're going to do it. You're going to do a minimum of 2 zone 2 tests. You take a low point and a high point. Let's say you go 10 watts up from the very lowest part of your zone and you come 10 watts down from the highest part. You're going to do 60 minutes. You can do this indoors, controlled environment, and take the starting heart rate, the middle heart rate, and the end heart rate, and the average for that ride. You note it down. You've got it recorded as baseline, and you do this for the lower and the upper. Then you've got the opportunity to do a validation test. So this is something that I would push you to do. You take your power curve. Maybe it's 2 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes. But you do not do a test to find a new score. You look at what your best has been over the last 4 weeks. Okay, and you take that out. Now, maybe you haven't had a high number in the last 4 weeks. Maybe you've got to go back 6, 8. It doesn't matter. What is the highest you've had in the history of this present training that you're doing? Don't go back any more than 3 months. Okay? Take that number and ride at it. And again, take the start, middle, and end and the average heart rate. Boom, log it. That can be any time period that's appropriate for you and what your goals are. So if you want to do a 20 minute, you choose. If you want to just do a 5 or a 2 minute, you choose. You're going to come back at it and you're going to see gains. Number 7, you're going to prepare for all weather scenarios. Okay, I don't want to hear any of you complaining about, oh, it's raining, it's wet. You prepare for weather scenarios and you either stay indoors if you've got that facility or you go outdoors. You apply appropriate clothing. You stay safe. Some of the unsafest conditions are when it's really windy. So you just make sure you stay safe, but you're starting to create a culture of performance. Okay? So maybe it does mean a little bit of juggling of time, but something amazing is going to happen to you during this period. Okay? Stick with the video and I'll explain why. Number 8, prepare for the dark side. Okay? The dark side is going to come and it's going to challenge you. And what I mean by that is there's going to be dark days. Your motivation is going to be impacted because there's going to be some hormone changes in your body. You are going to get a little bit tired at times, but those dark days, you welcome them. You embrace them. Hey, where have you been? Okay, I've been waiting for you. But there's no point you trying to keep me in bed. There's no point you trying to put bad weather because I am going to work through this. So those days are really important because they will come. I don't care how motivated you are right now, you will be challenged. Okay, you'll be challenged emotionally and physically, but you're going to rise above it. Why? Because you chose this. You can do it. Okay, number 9 is linked to number 8, and it's what I call don't moan and don't celebrate. Now that seems a little bit harsh, doesn't it? Well, let me explain. The don't moan campaign is, I don't want to hear you. Oh, I'm tired. Oh, my knee hurts, my foot hurts. You signed up for this. And nobody in your inner core, your family or your work colleagues, they don't want to hear you talk about how miserable you're feeling, how tired you're feeling. You signed up for it. And if you're feeling progressively more and more tired, you're overreaching. You're doing more than what you can recover from. You're using your resting heart rate through this to guide you to make sure you're getting out of that catabolic phase. But don't moan, and then don't overly celebrate. You know, if you achieve 8 hours in the week and that was your goal, don't go into work expecting people to give you a big pat on the back because you spent 8 hours sweating in Lycra. They don't care. So you have to create this winning mentality, this culture of performance that's based around you. When you look in the mirror at the end of the day, you're satisfied because you did it. You don't need people giving you kudos or pats on the back, when really, it doesn't matter to them. It matters to you. And you will get a much stronger work ethic if you do it because you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, I am happy with what I am doing. Okay, number 10, I promise you there's about 20 more I could give you, but number 10 is after 2 weeks, I want you to look at your work output. How many hours have you managed? How is your schedule followed in terms of what you planned? Did you make it? Did you turn up? Did you make all the sessions? Is there more time? Have you suddenly realized that as you actually drill down and you work out when you can train, you're discovering you've got more time? This can happen. Now, do you jump into this time? No, here's what you do. You add time to every other ride apart from the long ride. Do not start adding to the long ride because that's the common mistake a lot of people make. By doing that, that makes more sense, coach. I'm not working that day and I'm off the next day. I can go longer and longer. It will only lead in the first phase to you overreaching. I would suggest you try and add a little bit of time to the midweek rides. Maybe you 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. Maybe the Tuesday session becomes a split session. You do 30 minutes in the morning and 90 minutes in the evening. Maybe Wednesday and Thursday, you do 30 in the morning and 60. You're suddenly finding a little bit more time. But you want to take at least 4 weeks so that you can better assess what you were able to achieve. And then you can start dialing into a longer ride. It works much better. You have to think of long term, not short term. Pretty easy, okay? Now, you want to do this with me or you want to do it with others like you? Get yourself inside my school group. Inside there, we will talk about the virtual camp. We'll talk about how we can stretch goals, push you, support you, all sorts of things. So 10 points, real simple to follow. It will get you started whether you train for 2 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours. Put it in that model and see how you get on. Give it the 4 weeks. And you can share your experiences inside the school group. There's going to be a section within school dedicated to the Zone 2 training camp. And I've got lots more live videos. You can check out the longer video that I did talking about the camp in the link in the description. And there's going to be more where I talk about how we add in VO2 sessions to the camp and how we add in strength sessions to the camp. It all works. Remember, anyone can train hard. Anyone can overreach. Anyone can make themselves tired. There's only a few of us are smart enough to keep it going sensibly. Hey, you take care, and if this video added any value, give it a thumbs up, please. Tell the rest of the YouTube world they need to come and check out Kinetic Cycle Coaching. You stay safe, keep smiling, keep spinning. I'll see you in the next video.